Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. Today's webinar is SBIR Tips from a Female Founder. I'm Robert Brook. I'm Director of Federal Funding Programs here at the Center for Innovative Technology. And with our special guest today for today's webinar is Jiemin Jordan. She is the Managing Partner of Decisive Investing Group and a former CEO of Endeavor Systems. And this webinar is brought to us funded in part through a grant award from the U.S. Small Business Administration. The goal of this program is to help educate pre-startup, startup, and other early-stage technology firms across the Commonwealth of Virginia about the funding sources available as well as other resources to help support early-stage business ventures. CIT has three main funding assistance programs that help support this mission. The Commonwealth Research Commercialization Fund, or CRCF, is a grant-based program that CIT manages. We make early-stage grants of between $50,000 and $100,000 on an annual solicitation, typically, to both small businesses and nonprofit research institutions and other research institutions in Virginia. More information about this is available at CIT.org. Again, look at the CRCF program for the annual solicitation information. The Federal Funding Assistance Program we'll go into here shortly. And the CIT Gap Funds is an investment seed fund that CIT manages on behalf of the Commonwealth. We make early stage seed investments of between $50,000 to $200,000 in high growth potential companies here again in Virginia. Again, for more information about that, go to CIT.org and look at our GAP fund information. A little bit about our funding assistance program for SBIR and STTR applicants. SBIR is one of the most critical funding sources for early stage companies. They account for almost 25% of all early stage seed capital in technology companies every year across the U.S. 11 agencies providing $2.5 billion a year to fund early stage R&D, and the goal of this is to commercialize the technology as opposed to more academic focused grants that are not necessarily geared towards commercialization. So that's the key there to understand. So we provide low-cost proposal training and review courses across the Commonwealth throughout the year. Every quarter we're going somewhere to provide valuable low-cost training courses. We have a series of webinars available on our website that have been pre-recorded you're able to view. We have a consultation and mentoring program that I primarily manage and engage in to help early stage companies in Virginia to kind of learn about the program before you commit further. We have some discounts with some proposal consultants out there. We have a proposal preparation software discounts at one of the vendors that we work with closely. Our investment team, I mentioned our GAP fund, they can provide what we call a readiness review for those companies who are looking at SBIR, but also perhaps other dilutive funding from venture capital and other sources, so that you can kind of understand what we do there and how these might work together. We have a small fund called the Phase 0 and Double Zero Awards Program to help Phase 1 and Phase 2 applicants, typically that are doing it for the first time, to help you engage and hire an outside consultant. There is a process there. Let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about how that process works. And finally, the CRCF, as I mentioned earlier, has an STTR and SBIR matching grant program. There are $50,000 grant programs available to qualified companies and technology sector companies. So again, look at our website for more information about the annual solicitation. Typically that comes out in the fall, and it closes in early January, or late January, sometime thereabouts. The webinars I've mentioned to you are at this URL here at the there's about 15 or so there from all sorts of topic areas. Most are free for Virginia-based companies. My contact information is here as well. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you learn about and understand more about SBIRs. This is my contact info again. And a little bit, as I prepare here to introduce Jamie, this is a series of webinars we're adding all the time to our webinar database, so to speak, to help early stage companies learn little bits about different parts of the SBIR process. And one of those one of the goals of the SBA and all the agencies that have SBIR and STTR programs is to improve the diversity in the program with both minority and women-owned businesses. And so this is part of that effort that we have to try to do the same. And in doing so, we want to have some of the women founders who have had SBIRs talk about just their experiences in the program, and that's what we have today. Jiemin is a managing partner, as I mentioned, of Decisive Investing Group and former CEO of Endeavor Systems. They're a recipient of multiple Phase 1 and Phase 2 SBIR grants with the Department of Homeland Security. She founded Endeavor Systems in 2003, and they're providing cybersecurity solutions to federal, DoD, and commercial markets. They were recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the 100 fastest growing companies in America. And in 2012, they were acquired by Decisive Corporation. And she was also the founder of Endeavor Security, which is a subsidiary of Endeavor Systems, offering enterprise intrusion prevention and malware detection and analysis product. They were recently acquired, actually early in 2009, not recently, and by McAfee. So Jiemin's got a great story to tell about SBIR, a little bit about their company, how it was formed, a little bit of talk about their SBIR awards they got, kind of how they found those awards. We're going to talk about the challenges, some of the opportunities that SBIR provides them, challenges that she saw in the program, or just maybe a lot that most SBIR companies find. We're going to talk about some tips for them, her suggestions, and then just get some final thoughts on how she might suggest people proceed. So Jiemin, why don't you tell us, I mentioned a little bit about your background here. Tell us a little bit more about the company, what the company did, maybe kind of where you are now, and we'll tell the story of as we move through this about your SBIR experiences.
Great. Good afternoon, Rob. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Well, currently, as you say, that I'm a managing partner of Decisive Investment Group, and we invest in the real estate projects, technology, and government business. The reason that we invest in the government contracting business is because I have experience in this field. I started Endeavor at end of 2002. Focus on cybersecurity. Our first contract is with FAA. I have not worked in the government contracting before and had no knowledge of how to win SBIR and BAA. Then I ran into you, Rob, and the CIT, and I think the class you provide is valuable. And those classes taught me a ton on how to create a strategy and how to write a winning proposals, research proposals. We started our first research contract with NSA cybersecurity research. We got a BAA award in 2004. It's about like 150K phase 1 and 750K phase 2. With this funding, we developed our initial product and also created our subsidiary product company, Endeavor Security, in 2005. In 2006, we received the SBIR Cybersecurity Award, phase 1 and phase 2 from DHS. And with those fundings, we continue improving our product line. At the end of 2006, we secured our first paying customer. And as you said, Rob, that we sold to McAfee in 2009 as part of acquisition. So we, after that, and as the Endeavor Systems as a service consulting company, we continue to go after research grant in 2010 and 11, and we secured a cybersecurity BA award through DAPA Center program, and another cybersecurity BA through DHS. I think that overall, the total fundings we secured from the government is about like $4 million. in the market, there's different companies and they have different objectives in terms of why they are going after research fundings. And from our perspective, our goal was twofold. First is to create a marketable product company, and the second is to enhance our technical capabilities as a cybersecurity service company. Actually, technology was our differentiator that separates Endeavor from our competitors during our days of operation. So that kind of like it's a little histories about us, and we sold the consulting piece in 2012 to Telesis because they are looking for a cybersecurity capabilities to plug into their overall government contracting service offering. So it's kind of like a perfect fit into the overall portfolio of the Telesis company. That is it's about the history of the Endeavor. Rob,
Yeah.
you
You mentioned about your acquisition. Was that, we always try to talk to companies early on in SBIR as it's part of a funding strategy. Did you always in your mind think, about building the company with an acquisition in mind, or were you thinking about trying to get the larger venture capital and grow the company that way, or how did that opportunity? We'll talk about that opportunity first. With regards to the acquisition part, did that just sort of happen organically, or was that definitely a plan that you had and you did certain things to try to make that happen?
We had in our strategy, we want to build a product company and exit the product company eventually. And we did consider a VC funding as well. But that is after we have received SBIR awards and also build the product. So initially that we are looking at, from our strategy perspective, we're looking at using SBIR fundings as a seed funding to build a company, build a product. And also, and then later on, when we build a customer basis and then go to a VC funding in the second stage. And the acquisition with McAfee is an interesting story. That talking about like overall commercialization strategy, right? So we are fortunate that we are able to find the pilot customers among our consulting customer bases. So our product line has been piloted a couple of times. Initially, our product is called Early Warning System. That is leveraging dynamic honeypot and AI data analysis. Our pitch is to detect new attacks. After testing the market, we find out that our customers don't have skilled labor to man the system. So we pivot our approach and analysis the attacks ourselves in-house, and OEM our attack signatures, which is a result of our analysis, to other IDS vendors. And so that leads and one of the IDS vendors is acquired by McAfee because we're the provider of the product. So that's why we're acquired at the same time by McAfee. It's a one acquisition. So we was planning to build more later, and but the opportunity calls, so we take that opportunity and take the job.
Interesting. I think your discussion of comment about sort of changing, or the term du jour these days is pivoting, meaning with monies like SBIR that don't happen overnight. There is an application then you wait, 6 months or more, depending on the agency, before you get that funding. Then you do the phase one, which could be 6 to 12 months, and then there's a time period between the phase one and phase two, and the world doesn't stop just because your SBIR is taking time to do and perform. And I think that's sort of a lesson learned for, even if you get an SBIR, always be adjusting the scope, perhaps based on the market that's happening around you. Most agencies, even the DoD agencies that have a very defined topic, they understand that the world changes, and in fact their needs might be changing. So to be aware of the customer's needs, no matter whether it's federal or private sector, if the world around you is changing and the product you're developing is not going to be, always think about that, because it may change and you might build something that nobody wants anymore. To understand where the maybe or additional markets are that might require additional funding outside the focus of the SBIR. So it's a great lesson learned there. That's a good tip to have out there.
Yeah, and also that you can there's just like you said, Rob, technology move forward, right? And there's a new search topic coming out from different government agencies. And one thing that we're always looking for is that what type of research area we can go into, which is enhance our current product line. For example, that the early warning systems we built before was further enhanced by another research grant from DHS, SBIR award from DHS, which is on the malware detection side, advanced prevention system. So with that new research grant and new research topic, so we create a second product line for the advanced persistent threat. That happens around like 2007, 8 time frame. So that's something that I think company can looking at, that leveraging, stack up the fundings and to further enhance their product line.
Get your foot in the door somehow to then expand from there. SBIR does try to typically fund not just incremental improvements to a technology, but certainly looking at what you've studied and developed in an SBIR. Oftentimes you uncover other questions that could in fact lead to other investigation requirements that you may or may not be able to do in that current project. So yes, you can expand it to other opportunities. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. So you can stack up the funding, so have more money to work with to enhance your product and service.
So your Homeland Security SBIR work, you had a couple phase ones and I think a couple phase twos, somewhere in there. How did those opportunities come about? Did you know people at Homeland Security? Did you find the topic came out and you just responded to it? Did you have a discussion with them? Kind of take us back a little bit to the early, I guess that's almost 8, 9, 10 years ago now. If you remember kind of how those processes worked for you guys and how you made that happen.
Yeah. So what happened to us is that when we received our first grant from NSA, and besides make sure we do a great job with it, and we also focus on the business development side as well. So from business development perspective, what we're looking for is that kind of like make sure you network with your PMs and the PM networks, and also network with your current government clients and tell them about your product, tell them about your research, so get the word spread out, right? And we know DHS Decimon Group is through our research effort and networking with our current PMs. So Doug and his group look at our presentations, look at our research, and really liked it. So when the next time the SBIR topic comes out, and they knows about us, and it's more warm relationships than a code.
Right.
So I think that might contribute to the DHS award, my guess.
So it may have even had impact, you don't even know, about how they created what topics they created, based maybe on input or on understanding what you guys do or trying to do. You never know, I guess.
Yeah,
they'll never say it.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Um,
Yeah, but probably. But the bottom line is that the warm relationship helps.
yeah, relationship building is important. There are restrictions within the government about, you know, when they open topics up, how they can engage with you sometimes. But certainly, you know, I always suggest that SBIR companies understand, you know, the programs that would be of interest to you, what kind of the technology you're developing. There could be interest in many agencies, and that's usually sometimes the hard part is finding out um, which company, or finding those contacts, and then creating time to actually engage with them and make contact, and that's always
Yeah.
hard. So the business development aspect you mentioned to you for both government clients and private customers, it's not an easy thing, and not everybody can do that, but it's certainly something you need to do in order to leverage to help improve your odds of getting the SBIR.
Yeah, that's why I think one of my recommendation will be that they always have develop your goals and strategies early on. So and make sure that you can keep your business beyond phase one and phase two of research. I met several companies who got SBIR fundings and developed pilot, but they stuck with no customers and no additional grants from the government. So I don't know why, but I kind of like think if they are doing better planning
Sure.
and ahead of times and try to reach out and sell their researches and product, focus on the future fundings, and that situation can be mitigated.
So as you were getting this early stage funding, you had an NSA grant, which wasn't an SBIR, but it was similar funding size as a phase one. Getting your other SBIRs. Was there any period of time where there was the down period between grants, between the phase one, phase two, where there was? How did you manage the flow of money from SBIR being a little bit inconsistent, perhaps in the phases?
Uh, well, I think the fortunate thing is that we are Endeavor Security is a subsidiary of Endeavor Systems. And Endeavor System is a cybersecurity company, service company. So we have a consulting revenues to supplement all the government developed research funding gaps. And the strategy, as I said before, is twofold, right? And one is like the fundings can really help us to create a marketable product, and also that the fundings help us to win the government contract, because with the cybersecurity research grant, the customer sees us as a very technology savvy company. So we are able to win more contracts, and using the research revenues to help with the product development, invest into the product development. So grant is a supplement funding, not every 100% that we rely on to develop product.
Good point. I engage with a lot of startup companies who the SBIR would be their first source of revenue, and one of their key challenges of course is to then start developing other revenue sources, whether it be consulting, other sort of or they haven't quit their day job yet, to until they get the SBIR to actually fund the other parts of the business that the SBIR can't possibly fund everything, but it is a good source for early stage. But they have to then start getting the other revenues to help cover those other downtimes. I had a question for you. When your phase one was over, and maybe there was a gap between your phase one and phase two, uh, as far as the technology you were working on that project, did you continue to push forward to self-fund perhaps additional work towards between the phases, or was there something or you just pivoted and did the consulting work until the SBIR phase 2 was granted? Was there a strategy you had there, or was there um, just you stopped work until you got the money and you started up again?
We when we received the government grant, we hired engineers and computer scientists to help us with the research, and we have to make sure that we have enough money to support them,
Hmm.
their salaries. And the big piece is that because we have a very stable government consulting business, we are able to using those money and revenues from there to continue paying our researchers moving forward. And technically, it's not really a research per se. In our mind, this is our product development funding.
You were going to do it either
And
way.
yeah, we're going to do it either way. Research grant is basically helps the overall strategies, and it's like you get the VC funding, right?
Right.
Research funding is the low cheap fundings, much cheaper than VC funding. So that's how you're going to think about it. I mean, at least that's how we think about it. We're going to create a product company. We need the funding, and SBIR is the best funding source that we can find, and BAA too. So instead we go to VCs and we go spend time and effort to go after those type of funding. Frankly, like if you want to raise money from VC, it takes a lot of time and effort too. And on both sides, it's also take time and effort. But SBI money is low cost fundings, much lower cost than VC funding. So we go after that.
Right. Um, You mentioned earlier engaging with some of your customers as you were developing the product to understand you were building something that had a need there. Were there other uh, channel partners or other I guess lessons learned in engaging with potential customers or customers to help define what you're building? Because you've mentioned that that's kind of what helped you kind of pivot. Whereas companies that if you build your technology in a vacuum, you're not gonna have that engagement. When you're engaging with your DHS customer, was there similar conversations going back and forth as you're getting to phase 1 and understanding how their changes, how uh, their needs may be changing based on your interaction?
Yeah, so here we kind of define two type of customers. One is the customer who is going to buy the product. One is customers who is going to be funding the project. And so because we are a consulting company in the cybersecurity space, so the product we build is based on our customers' needs. So the consulting customers' needs. So in this case, that we will we will talk to them about our product and also get a pilot agreement with them to test our product in their space. Because we have a good working relationship with our customer space in the cybersecurity area, and a lot of customers willing to take our product to test, to give a test drive on it, and let us know what they think about it. And it's too complicated, take too much time, or it's a great product, we love it, we want to keep it to use. So
Right.
those feedback is important for us. And that is also their validations and also help us to gain paying customers down the road. Or they will become paying customers down
Right.
the road.
Right.
And,
You mentioned at the beginning that you were a new to government contracting, and obviously that's a whole new world out there. for those who hadn't been involved. Was there any sort of lessons learned, or what were the the biggest challenges maybe in getting into the government contracting world, or if you will, the SBIR world?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, and the government has its proposal has it's their own way of looking at things, requirement, the format, and everything. For newcomers, I don't really know how to read the solicitations and how to create a proposals which is like meet their eyes. I think that's a huge challenge, and also you're talking about the pricing cost and everything else. It's a lot of a new knowledge and skills need to be learned. And thanks God for the programs you guys provided, and I was able to get a lot from the lessons that the CIT provided, and also that part of the support that the supporting letters you offered, and also helps us to demonstrate that, hey, we have a solid backings from a CIT, and it's provides a credibility for our proposal. Thank you very much on that.
You're welcome. Are there any other sort of tips that you would provide, or warnings, or recommendations for companies that are early in this process? Maybe they have a phase one, haven't gotten any further yet, or they're applying for the first phase ones. Of how to what would you suggest? Any basic suggestions you might have for them?
I would say that the SBIR, where B is for business. So the purpose is to get products and service to the market by U.S. business, not just uncover a new knowledge. So it is important to pay attention to the end product, which the technology or subset of the technology can create in the proposal. So that's one. And second is that some of the companies will not be able to move from phase one to phase two. Many of them that I think it's too academic. Personally, I feel that the PMs like to see something that quantable and something that you can show and demo. So that probably is another factor that we should consider when moving from the phase one to phase two, and also that keep communication with the PMs of the research project. So let them know what you're doing and building relationship with them. That is also important for moving from phase one to phase two.
Communication with the program manager. Yep.
Yes.
Very important. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. I think you provided some interesting discussion on your unique experiences. In some ways, every company is a little bit different, but you had some great success and a great transition, or I guess outcome that shows well for your efforts in the program to use SBIR funding to fund the early stage high risk parts and to develop it further with additional phase two monies, and then to help leverage that with an acquisition through in that pivoting through customer discovery, continual customer interaction and discussions. That success doesn't come by accident, and certainly having these plans, a financing plan for your company, and a direction that can often change, but to have a plan in place to go there. And I think you've done well to explain that, and we thank you for that. If there's any other final thoughts you wanted to provide? Now that the shoe's on the other foot, you're actually now investing in companies.
Yeah. So right now, that from a venture capital perspective, and I think that the SBIR fundings is very important for helping for moving forward with technology in this country. And most of VCs that they're more interested in the business than in the technology, like advance the technology side. So this funding really helps advance the technology. From a company perspective, and I think we have to realize that the most of VC don't have the in-depth knowledge in the research topic that you are working on. Again, the VC is more interested in business that is based on your technology. So finding a VC who understands your industry and the business impact your technology will bring is the key. Another thought is that the tip is that the investors won't consider your research funds as your product revenue. Some tried, but I don't think the VC will take that. The VCs are looking for customer validations, and the revenue, it's not about the money, incoming money, it's about customer validations, i.e. that a lot of customers are willing to open their wallet to purchase your product, and that's indicates success of a business.
And that goes to the commercialization mindset that SBIR is required to talk about where it's going to go. What's the value proposition to the potential customers? And from a perspective as an investor, you're looking to invest now in companies that are trying to solve big problems, that have big market opportunities, perhaps, which is what SBIR tries to do. It doesn't always work that way, but all things being equal, that's their main goal, and there's been a lot of successes doing that. So as an investor, and looking back maybe on your commercialization plans that you discussed in your SBIRs, how you talk about the business, which is sort of the market opportunity, the problem being solved in the market. Because you have experience writing those proposals that are trying to discuss that problem. Do you see a gap sometimes when you're talking to an early stage company about the true problem they're trying to solve as it relates to the value proposition? Is there a disconnect you see from your investor side of these days?
From investor side, that we see sometimes that the solutions, because we look at the solutions that company provide, and some of them that is now it's incremental to the current problem, and it's not disruptive, change the market. So I guess that like yesterday, I was looking at one company. They're more focused on the help desk support sections, but help desk is a traditional market space and kind of like a maintenance space. What they provide is kind of very interesting technology, which is able